Hey everybody, Sam Dennehy. On today's episode, we have David Johnson. Been a big fan of his for quite a while. Once I joined this scale hobby, I saw or I found the 187 Scale Club website, and I instantly saw their gallery. And I've seen his stuff in the gallery for quite some time now. He builds some very, very nice stock classics. I think that's the time frame he models in. So all his stuff is period correct. And his modeling work is fantastic. He is a very good model car builder, and his work basically sells itself. And with that, he's our next guest. And this is going to be the first episode where I kind of try to show you probably what we're talking about through my laptop. So I'll flip the camera around and I'll show you pictures of his cars while we're talking about them. And this will be the first time I do that, and we'll see how that works. So without further ado, stay tuned. He'll be right in here. All right, looks like it's recording. Hey, everybody out there, this is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, and this is Halfass Presents, the podcast. Today's special guest, David Johnson. Like I said in the monologue, been a fan of his for a good while. He's got some really, really nice models, in my opinion. So, David, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this hobby?
Yeah, hi. I'm recently retired after 42 years at 3M.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to more time in the hobby. While I was at 3M, I was an application engineer for masking tape used in industrial processes. So I got into the manufacturing a lot of truck plants, bus plants, car plants, airplane paint hangers. And so it was a lot of fun. How I got into the hobby, I've always liked cars. I was born in the mid 50s, and by the time 1960 rolled around, I could see a quarter panel or a tail fin and tell you what car it was if it was one of the common ones. And so I'm kind of going back to that period with my modeling interests. I got into 187th vehicles through model railroading. So my chosen railroad is the Sioux Line, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the era is the last full year of steam on the Sioux Line was 1954, and so I want to capture that. But I also like the muscle cars of my high school years.
Right.
That's why all the cool kids had late 60s muscle cars.
Of course they did.
Yeah. So 1954 to 1970, and of course, earlier vehicles that would have been on the road in 54. That's probably, close to all of what my vehicles are. There's a few where I go older or newer, but mostly not.
Right. Because of the era you're modeling, that makes sense.
Yeah. And the other thing about that is, like, northern Wisconsin is kind of a industrial area. There were some tourists, so not real likely to see a lot of really fancy cars. They'd be more of the plain Janes, but
Right.
But that's a sort of a conflict, So sometime, I don't have a model railroad now, but when I start populating a model railroad, I'll probably have to do some things, additional vehicles, some weathering, that kind of thing, so that it doesn't look like a movie set with that's set in 1957 and all the classic cars of today shiny and
right. Just like movies do.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy, but yeah, I get it. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So just, I'm going to pick up my computer here and just show you. This isn't my 87th vehicles, but these are kind of unplugged. Okay, you see that there? I had a model railroad when I was a kid. About 65, I got that train that's on the near the top shelf there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's my original Tyco train set. And above it is the Matchbox and the Hot Wheels that I had. And I always wished I had no sense of the scale, right?
Right.
But I always wished there was more American and more, you know, like 50s. And so I started model railroading again about 1985. I still had most of my old stuff, but at that time I could get some vehicles. So one of the first ones I did was, okay. Can you see this?
Yes.
This is Jordan, 40 Ford. And what's interesting about that one was I went right away to aluminum foil for chrome. But I was
That's
too
what you
cheap.
had back then.
Yeah, I was too cheap to spend the $5 or $6 on bare metal foil.
Was that
So,
back? Did they have that back then?
yes, they did.
Oh, okay.
So I better plug in so I don't lose my battery.
Go ahead.
Excuse me.
I didn't know they had bare metal foil that far back. I knew they had it in the mid 90s, but that's when I found out about it. So I didn't know how old it was before then.
Yeah. So anyways, I'll hold it up here again. So what I did, I was working in a lab with masking tape, right? And so I took some kitchen aluminum foil and spread a tape adhesive and acrylic adhesive really thin, and then I did my car.
That's
and
awesome.
It worked out pretty well, but I realized that there was value to the bare metal foil, so I purchased that. And then the next one I did was this Matchbox here, Pontiac, 60 Pontiac. So most people would recognize this as the yellow convertible. And it is real simple bumpers. So those bumpers are foil. And so it was like, wow, Shazam, right?
Right.
Other things about this model, I made a top out of brass. We didn't have the internet resources then, so I just did the best I could. If I were doing it today, I would take this Oxford 59 Pontiac,
right,
and use the wheels, top, and interior.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but the scaling, these two cars are virtually identical. So Pontiac Bonneville, not a Ventura, that would be a real nice model.
That would be a nice model. I'm a huge Pontiac, just GM fan from the 50s to the early 60s. Their styling, besides a Mopar, their styling was just off the chain.
Yeah.
They were way better than any Ford, in my opinion.
It was. Those are my, when I got into the hobby, those were my favorites. The General Motors cars from probably 55
yes,
on up to 65, 66.
Yes, that's my favorite period of GM, 55 through 65.
Yeah,
it's just perfect. Everything about that period for GM was perfect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So, but when it comes to what I've actually modeled, I'm kind of like what is the movie Up, where they have the dogs and they're all going and someone yells squirrel.
Yeah.
So one of the things that that I maybe through interactions with other modelers, like I first, with the internet, there was a group in Europe, the 187th scale message board. I think it's still up, but I don't think anyone posts anymore. But were you active in that for a while towards the end of its being active?
Maybe, so I joined the 187 scale hobby back in, I think 2011, because I was in a Hot Wheels scale 164th, and I got really burnt out in that, and I needed a change. And I wasn't doing my 125th scale models at that time. So I was like, what can I do that doesn't take up that much room at all that I can actually do? So I looked into this scale, because in 2005, I built I customized a Woodland Scenics Merc 49 through 51 Merc that they made.
Mm-hmm.
And I just chopped it, slammed it, put lake pipes on it, and primered it black. And I kept that in my display case, and I was like, let me look into this scale, see what's out there. And there was back even in 2010, 2011, there wasn't nearly as much as there is now. But I looked into it and I thought, okay, Walmart sells these cars, and then you can get these cars off of, the train stores or the internet, the Jordans or whatever. And there's a few other cars you can find. Some people are making some in, cash resin molds and stuff for rare cars. And okay, the few that's out here, I think I can get into. So I jumped into it around that 2011 point. So I don't know. But when I got into it, I looked all over the internet for other things to help me like immerse into it better. So I could have been part of that at the very end of it. If that was still going on then, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was. So I think I remember you maybe from that group. But there was, Joe Fay was on that group. I've got a lot of his resin castings. Looking forward to building.
He had the best unique models that nobody else has. Still today, nobody else has even ventured to make those, and he has them, or he had them.
Right. And then there's a gentleman, Jerry Cox, lives in Los Angeles. And let's see, get the camera down. This is hard for me to.
Yeah.
This is the model I'm going for. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a Kaiser,
right.
53, 54. I didn't even know those existed. So, so I started kind of modeling in obscure.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's
Which Joe Fay's good for.
People would think I'm a huge Packard fan.
Right. Yeah.
And so my mother-in-law had this old Packard parked out behind the barn. That's this model here.
She had one of those in real life. That's awesome.
Yeah. And if you're like 187th Gallery, it's the first photo I posted on there is that model.
Okay.
Well, another guy who was obsessed with Packards, he started contacting me. So I started building more Packards, and he has models of some of them. These two here, I did a tutorial on bare metal foil. Nice. That is posted on that other, the 87th scale message board. They have a message board, and then they have a home page.
Right.
There's more modeling information, manufacturer information in there. So it's probably still up. I haven't been there for a while. And then this is a Stony Mountain casting. Jerry Cox, who did the Manhattan, he did the masters for Stony Mountain. So
nice.
Greg in there. Greg's Garage, highly modified. That one has been posted on the on our Facebook group. Nick Voges, he was on that group. German modeler. I don't know, haven't heard from him in a few years. He did this and this Oldsmobile here. Okay. And then we were talking about Joe Fay, 59 Edsel.
Yeah.
And then I was talking about the need for utilitarian cars, right? So he did a Studebaker Scotsman, which I have modified some. He did a 58, and I modified it back to a 57 just because I like the taillights.
Yeah, well, 57 was kind of like the last year that car even, was worth a damn.
Well, the Scotsman, the Studebaker Scotsman, they sold a tremendous number of these guys. I think it was something I read about. It was like a third of their production. Let's see. I'm kind of looking, kind of story behind the model. Okay.
Right. So this is a better photo for you guys when you're looking at it.
Yeah. Story behind the model. There's these. There we go. The Eco Thunderbirds. I don't know. I can't see what I've got on my camera. Light
No,
blue.
I can see them. Yeah, the light blue one and the red one.
Black one, red maybe? And black. So I was talking before the recording. I was talking about my friend. A lot of my there's a model railroader, and a lot of my photos on the 87th Club Gallery are taken on that. And so he had an auto transporter, and I had a roughed-in model of the red one on the transporter. That's why its wheels are red. And he said, "Oh, I went to prom with his future wife in his friend's car. So that's the blue one here. And cool. So he and his date are actually in the car. Figures in the car.
That's awesome. I've got it up on the camera now.
Yeah.
For people to see.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you did that.
Yeah. He hasn't seen it yet because that when we had that conversation was actually the last time I saw him before COVID. So
oh wow.
I'll be going back to seeing him probably in a week. So I did a 58, a 59, and a 60 from the Eco kit.
That's neat. And you were able to modify the little differences in between the grills and the rear ends and whatnot just off of that Eco car, the original cast.
Right. There's little the Eco car's a 59, so the red one. I got some mesh from, I think it's supposed to be chain link fence for model railroaders. Some mesh aluminum, so that's the grill in the 58. Nice. And then the 59, I can't remember what I used, or the 60, I mean. Something really thin. It might have even been thin cardstock or really thin styrene to make the grill. And then it had 6 taillights. So that's right. Styrene rod, not perfect, but it was pretty effective. One of the interesting things about modeling is I could never tell the difference between these 3 years of Thunderbirds until I did it. Now, when I see one, I know based on side trim or grill or whatever.
Yeah. Well, because the body, for the most part, was the same. It was just the details in the front end and the rear end that kind of changed it for the most part.
Yeah. So I'm just looking for models with a story here. Okay, Ham's beer. You can see this, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay, so it's a CMW model. I modified it quite a lot just to improve the appearance of the model, but I want to talk about is I grew up watching the Minnesota Twins a lot, like 1965. I'd listen on the radio and all that, and they'd watch them on TV. They'd always have the Ham's bear, and so when they came out with this Ham's beer truck, was like, hey, I've got to have that. Even not that I enjoy Ham's beer or anything, but it's just childhood memory. And so I made a decal of the Ham's bear, and I did a little bit of research. He actually first came out on the scene about 1954, which is the year of this truck. And it was the first cartoon used in advertising.
Oh wow!
Now he's no longer, because selling alcohol to kids is kind of the perception.
I guess I can kind of see that now. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that was a fun one to build. I do a lot of, let's see, a lot of what I do is just improvement of, where's the model I'm looking for? There it is. So you won't have a photo of this one anywhere. I don't think I've ever posted it. You see it there. It's a CMW Chrysler 300. And
57.
Yep, 57. And it's got a lot of chrome around the windshield. And so I just hand painted all that chrome. The early CMWs, when it was metal, they were pretty simplistic. They had chrome bumpers and a silver grille, but that was about it.
That is it.
Yeah. So I did a lot of hand painting to improve them.
That looks good though, because that's what you're wanting to see. You're wanting to see the window trim chrome because that's what they all had. I
Yeah.
don't understand why CMW didn't do that, but whatever.
Yeah, I think the general ability to print has really improved. Where,
Right.
now they can do some really neat work on this scale. Whereas is back then, if you wanted the detail, you pretty much had to paint it yourself.
Right. It's so funny you say that. Hold on, I'll be right back. So, speaking of detail, I got this Oxford Diecast 57
Oh yeah,
Mercury.
yeah, I have the exact same one.
Yeah, and all the trim, all of it, bumpers and all, was silver, just painted on silver like the side trim. I don't know if
Yeah,
anybody can see the side trim all that well, but it's just a silver paint. So I took that Molotov or whatever it is chrome pen, and I
right,
chromed out all the trim except for the side trim because I didn't want to mess it up. But the
right.
window trim is chrome, the bumpers, the everything is chrome where it's supposed to be chrome except for the side trim because I want to put bare metal foil on that to make that a perfect straight strip
Oh
on
yeah,
there and not screw it up with the chrome pin. But
yeah.
yeah, I chromed out everything just because it was all silver and it didn't look right to me.
Mhm.
This luxury Mercury didn't have silver bumpers. It had chrome bumpers.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I do the same thing. I do that with a lot of models that aren't detailed enough. I'll re-chrome everything that I think needs to be chrome.
Yeah, I do most of my stuff with bare metal foil. Um, the reason is that um, I can pick the car up by the ends like that.
Yeah,
The bare metal foil will stay shiny forever.
right. It
Um,
will.
I've found that just with the silver paint, if I pick it up by the side like this, after a while, that all that trim that I worked so hard to paint
Yeah,
neatly has to be
it'll dull
repainted.
out.
And
Right.
I think the Molotov Chrome is more durable, but I haven't really. I've done some with it. I'll be doing more with it. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, they make a 1 millimeter tip.
yeah,
They have three different sizes, and the smallest one is a 1 millimeter. So it's good to do for window trim. It's still a little bit too big if you I guess dab the tip with too much liquid
right,
because you can have too much liquid on the end and then just like any liquid pin it could bleed all over the place and leak.
right,
But
and they've scared me for that. So I've never taken the pen directly to a model. I've,
well,
I've,
this Mercury is done with a 4 millimeter pin because I ran out of my other pins.
uh,
And so I've manipulated on how well I can use it. And that's why I didn't do the side trim yet, because a
yeah.
4 millimeter tip on the side trim is just asking for failure.
You could 4 millimeters. You could chrome the whole side of that thing.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do is I just keep ramming the tip into my workbench until I get a little pool of silver paint. Kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this is going to date me a little bit, but it looks like a pool of mercury. We used to
Yeah. No, it
spin
does.
around from hand to
Right.
hand in grade school.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. In fact, I have the chrome pin for the 1 millimeter, and I do that. I'll take the 4 millimeter pin, I'll dab it on a piece of plastic so it's not going to soak into it, and then I take my 1 millimeter tip and I just subscribe whatever I need where I need it. Because, like for instance, right down at the door frame or at the door to the wind wing or whatever you want to call it, the A pillar. I had to use that 1 millimeter because the 4 millimeter tip was just gonna rub all over the door, and I didn't want it to rub everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I use it still, even though it's out of ink. I could refill it. I just don't care to.
Yeah. I give a couple of sort of, I don't know, tricks or whatever I do. For first for painting, what I do is I have a stick with some double stick tape on it. And then, of course, I just stick it into my car body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then, so then I've got a handle.
Right.
And if I,
That's what I do.
in spray painting, bottle.
Yeah, I do that a lot too.
Probably pretty common. And then if I'm painting details by chrome, the best tool at all is the undo, because I screw up 100% of the time. So I have these micro brushes, little felt tip on the end, and I dip it in whatever thinner the chrome paint would use.
Yeah.
And I've never had it affect the base paint for the car, usually because I'm using a different kind of paint. If I'm doing like bare metal foil, I'll cut it like really narrow strips.
Oh, you got to.
And pick it up with a real pointy tweezer.
Yes.
Put it on do that side trim.
Right.
The ones I can remember doing that to most recently was the 57 Bel Air here. In fact, well, I'm not sure. I probably put the foil right on here and then trimmed it on the car with the X-Acto.
This is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So it looks like he was talking about this pink one.
Yeah. Well, both of them.
Okay.
But there are. Let's see.
So yeah, I'll do that. I'll lay the chrome down and then I'll put a clear coat of clear gloss paint over it, so it never peels off with my finger touching it. Right,
because then if I've done that, I've never lost one. Okay, so here's the model. Here's multiple techniques for chrome. This is the Greg's Garage highly modified Packard.
Nice.
And the chrome that's down near the bottom, that was molded into the vehicle. So, laid the bare metal foil on there and then cut it right on the vehicle. Brand new X-Acto blade.
That's pretty much what I do too. I'll cut the strip bigger than what I intend for, just by a tad, and then I'll take that blade and run it right across that molding piece I need.
Yeah, but the ones, the high line here, there's nothing on the model to follow there. So I cut that as narrow as I could. It's maybe 0.5 millimeter wide. And then I laid it on the model, and then like we talked about, cleared over it so that it would heal up later.
Yeah, you can see on the bottom trim piece there, that thing is super thin. And then even that upper trim piece, that's about as thin as I can cut bare metal foil. Any thinner and then it just breaks so easily. Yeah, and I should say the bare metal foil, once in a while you get a bad batch that's breaks too easily or doesn't stick or sticks too much. Or just real problems separating it from the sheet. I've only had that happen once, and maybe it got old. Other thing I wanted to talk about. I never figured that out. I never figured out if it's an old piece of old sheet or if it's just a bad adhesive that they used. I never figured it out. They've been pretty consistent. I've only had one bad experience. Gold is notorious for that. If you ever get gold bare metal foil, most of those packages don't stick. Okay. You really got to finagle with it if you want to keep using it, because you just spent $7 to $12 on that sheet. You don't want to just throw it away. Yeah. So I've learned that a lot. Yeah. So the other thing I was going to show you is, okay, so I have these micro brushes here. I cut the foam tips, the fuzzy tips off the end. And then if you're using bare metal foil and you really want to get into some small details, usually I use a flat toothpick for most of it. Mm-hmm. And this Buick, this was an old Bush or Praline model, did not have chrome. But it would just sort of floss the teeth here. Yeah. With that, and it looks a whole lot better. It looks, if I was doing it now, I'd use the Molotow pen on this. Right. But because it's just one solid, grilled teeth section there. But that was really the key. That made it look decent rather than like a rough foil job. Yeah. I mean, you and me seem to build the same way, because before that pen even existed, bare metal foil was the go-to thing for any kind of chrome. because
Right.
most cars didn't come with chrome, and especially if you're using a solid casting of a resin mold or something, they're not going to come painted, and you got to manipulate the chrome somehow. And most people use silver, and
Mhm.
that's not chrome.
Okay. So here's something that you say we do things the same, but we're dramatically different in the subject matter that we
Right.
model for the most part. You've done a couple of cars that are stock, and I've done a couple of hot rods, but um, especially with a resin model, one of the important things, and you'll agree, is the stance of the model. Although
Hmm.
we're looking at different things for stance. So I spend a lot of time. I've got this wood block. It happens to be a pine wood derby from the Cub Scouts when my boys were in
Nice.
Scouts. Um, but I can turn it and I can look it down and look at it in different angles to make sure that everything is looking right. And as I'm, fitting the wheels, gluing on the wheels, that I get the stance that I want.
That makes sense, though. I mean, even on a stock vehicle, especially with a model like that, say solid model, you most likely will have to drill out the wheel wells if you want it lowered. But if you don't, you still have to drill out the wheel well in a sense to where the wheel fits perfectly stance wise, because
Yeah.
a lot of times a solid model will come pretty rough in the wheel well area, to where
Mm-hmm.
if you just glue the wheel in, you're gonna be like high rise. It's gonna be like four-wheel driving,
Yeah.
because of the way it comes,
Yeah.
from the
It
company.
takes a lot of work to
Right.
get that. And yeah. So a couple other things. I'm just looking at bag of tricks. So this one I showed before. This is one of Joe Fay's castings. It's a 1960 Ford, and the 60 Ford, I'll go closer here. It has these horizontal tail fins, and
Yeah.
on his casting, they were air bubbles. So I had to
Yeah.
build them up. And
I had the
so,
same casting. It did the same thing.
yeah. So my sons are really into Games Workshop, Fantasy Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And they sculpt this stuff. It's a two-part epoxy called green stuff. So it's kind of pricey, but you can get it at Games Workshop stores. And
Nice.
that's what I used where I wanted, had to do a pretty substantial and a very thin add to this model. The different one, this one here, another one from Joe Fay. There was a few places where the side trim was missing.
Mm-hmm.
A few places underneath that just needed to be filled in.
What was that car? What year and make was that? I know it's a 50s, but
the 60 Dodge.
60. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't have that one. I know that.
Yeah.
And it was a wagon?
Wagon, yes.
Oh, I love wagons.
So I've used JB Weld. And so it's a fairly thick, viscous epoxy. And once it sets up, you got to let it set 24 hours. But once it sets up, it's sandable.
Oh, geez. Wow.
And so I can just take a thin bit of that and manipulate it with a toothpick to fill in those missing details.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I really wanted to do something like, say, build up a roof to be a little more crowned on top or something.
Yeah.
I've done that, and then because it's sandable, I can sand it smooth.
Right. It's these little tricks that some people know and some people don't know, but for those that don't, this is why it's so nice to be having these conversations. I mean, I know about that stuff because I deal with a lot of customizing anyway. So, and in the model car world, it's the same thing. You're using the same stuff in a bigger scale to a smaller scale. But to the, say, newer person into the building of these cars that don't know the little tricks, this is good information.
Yeah. So kind of want to tell another good story here. So this is sorry about the motion, Bush 50 Buick. And I don't know if the photos of a purple one were posted in the Facebook group or if that was before.
I'm looking.
I'm pretty sure it was, because it's one of the few hot rods, and we knew each other at the time. So when you're looking, I'll tell the story about this model. This is actually a duplicate that I've started to build for myself. My friend Arlen, who a lot of my photos are on his model railroad, he had this Bush Buick which was purple with a white scallop, and to me it just did not look right on his model railroad. Set in the mid 50s in Minnesota and all that. So, but I didn't know why. And then I took this business trip out to Los Angeles, and I was working with the older 3M rep, and he was really into building street rods.
Yes.
And he'd go to the junkyards and all that. He's over the course of 30, 40 years of this, he's built and sold a lot of cars. He showed me some of the photos, and there's that white scallop. So, okay, this is the answer. It's got to be made into a 1950s, 60s era street rod. And so I kind of asked him, what do I do? And he says, shave it, lower it, chop it. And so that's what I did.
Right.
And then it turned out that he is a personal friend of George Barris.
Oh, nice.
And so when I finished the model, I sent it out to him, and George Barris autographs the plastic Bush display case or container for the model.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't have the purple one. It's over at my friend's Arlen's house. But I'm pretty sure if you can insert the pictures later, you'll find that one somewhere.
I'm looking for it. So it's not in the 187 scale vehicles group, but I think it's in my hot rod custom group, because I know I've seen it.
Yeah.
And it was a while ago, but I remember. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think it's in the website. I think that's where it is. I think it's in the 187 scale website.
Yeah, it is for sure. It is for sure. It's there. I do a lot of another product I like, sandable primer from Rust-Oleum. Usually I use a little bit darker gray, as this one here. But if I'm working with a resin casting, I'll do everything all of imperfection I can see. I'll do first, and then I'll shoot it with that, and then I'll see lots more.
Right.
And if they're really small, I just fill them with some super glue, sand them smooth, brush paint over the area again with the primer, and see if I got it. And
nice.
So in process, you'll see a lot of my models. If I post in process things, they look like leopards of raw resin in that gray primer. And then when it finally got it, then I'll shoot it again with the gray primer and then go and paint it. I do a lot of brush painting. I use Tester or Model Master Acryl a lot. But most of my 50s cars are pastel.
Well, that's what they were back then.
Yeah,
they're all pastel colors.
Yeah, there's the one that was. It was actually I found a picture of a Barris custom on the internet. And that's how I judged how much to chop the top.
Yeah, well, that's good, because that's exactly what this looks like. It looks like it could have been a Barris custom, because he has those kind of candy, colors for the top, a two-tone and the chop and the big fat white walls. That's right up his alley.
Yeah.
I love this model.
Thank you. I love it so much. All the glass in that is the original, except for the back window is tape. I had to cut down the glass just like I cut down the top.
Yeah, that works perfect. I've got a 50 Buick that I chopped too and lowered, but I don't know where it is, and I don't really want to look for it. But I have one too. It's funny because I built mine right before this gallery came out, so I think we probably built it at the same time and didn't even know it.
Yeah, could be.
Right. But mine never made it into the gallery because I never submitted it. I just built it for myself and posted it everywhere on Facebook.
Yeah. So the other, kind of, well, what should I do next? It's like, well, I would like to build a model railroad. I know this is going to be kind of embarrassing, but there's a space where my model railroad needs to go.
That's the weaving in and out of that stuff is gonna be a little tricky.
Yeah. My parents passed away about a year ago, right before COVID, and I have.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, we were, it's sad to see them go, but there was some good things about how they went and when they went too, that were a blessing. So anyways, I have 4 kids that are all starting out life. They're all in their 20s. Triplets at 25, and the son's at 30. So I did not do much modeling during that time.
I'm more than sure you didn't.
But they're great kids, and they want a lot of that furniture. But then with not being able to travel, I wasn't able to deliver it. So got to work on that. Maybe one more thing I was going to show you. So most of the photos that I've posted recently have been on some version of this diorama here.
Yeah, that looks cool.
And what it really is, they're like design preservation models that I built like in the 80s. And then I cut apart a shoebox, it's real thin corrugated, sprayed it gray, sprayed it black. And so it's usually posed with the fronts of the building as a sidewalk, but the other thing, I can turn it around and pose it to the backs of the buildings as either concrete or asphalt. So
that's cool.
Like to improve my diorama, but that's what I have for now. I just haven't put time into that.
That works though, because I mean that seriously works. I used the other models in there, but I made this drag racing strip.
Oh yeah.
And for a lot of the photos where I've got a diorama that's just full of cars, I'll put this strip in front of it as just the road. Mm-hmm. And it looks stupid because you got this big fat white line and this red stripe down there, but it looks sort of like an asphalty type of road, and it works that it's super thin and super mobile that I can just put it in front of a small diorama, and it kind of makes for a road, I guess.
Yeah, the thing I should add would be some people.
Yeah, to get good people though,
yeah,
that's not cheap. That's the problem.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of running out of things to say.
Is that snap-on tools?
Yeah.
Chevy truck. I love that panel.
Oh, thanks.
See, and the cool thing, like, okay, so and everybody knows I built hot rods, customs, and lowriders. I see anybody's stock cars, all of Mike Budd's stock cars, all of yours, all of anybody, John Tyson's stock cars, and you build it completely stock, period, correct. And I see, switch the wheels, lower it, give it a candy paint job. So I love when people do that because it brings that car to life and it brings it to its time period. And I see, okay, well, if I were to see that on the side of the road today and they were asking like $1,000 for it, all the possibilities I can now turn it into.
I think it's on our Facebook group, it's really exciting now. The number of modelers that are building stuff from Peter Rings and John Tyson,
yes,
and a few others, but there's just a lot of mostly 60s and muscles cars being presented.
And they just started popping up. It's like there was a good gap between them for a good while, and now they're like having a comeback, which is great.
Yeah, just some other models I'll show quick. This is a Mountain States 35 Ford, and what I wanted to show you is the flames. My son did that. He was just starting to do flames on his Warhammer miniature, so I said, hey, for Christmas I'll give you this black painted car, and Give me some flames.
Nice.
Yeah,
So there's a little bit bigger picture for you
yeah,
guys.
yeah. So he's progressed. He'd probably be embarrassed by these flames right now. He's progressed so much. He's actually almost could be a professional miniatures painter with what he's
Well, I'll
doing
tell you
now.
what though, for this scale, and then the way those flames look, it kind of fits that
Yeah,
car very well. So I mean, like you said, he might be embarrassed, but I wouldn't be embarrassed. I
yeah.
think they look
Well,
cool.
and I kind of wanted to look like a do-it-yourself hot rod, not a professional
That's what
hot
that
rod.
looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, we
I mean,
talked about.
all hot rods are do it yourself, unless you ask Boyd Coddington to build you something or Chip Foost.
Yeah, yeah. We just talked about the Suburban.
Hmm.
Um, Stan, and I'm not going to go for his last name, Yeto, whatever. um, he produced the Snap-on tool, and so I sent him an email. Said, "Is that small enough to go on the panel van?" He said, "Got his panel van out. No, it's not, but I'll make it small."
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah.
That's cool.
And then
Here's a bigger picture for you guys.
yeah, it's a brand new model just completed this week, and it's my first build of the Sylvan kit, which
Oh,
um,
that's your first one.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah, there it was. The preparation was really simple.
Yeah, I
Um,
know. His kits are great. I
yeah,
built a few of them and I love all of them.
yeah. This is another one recently completed. Saw a similar prototype photo and go, Studebaker cab on a utility box. So um, took a fair amount of time to get the cab so it looked right, made it to the box. I had to change the wheelbase. But it's uh,
Here's a bigger picture for
yeah,
everybody that wants to see it. And I hope you're all watching this, because most of my podcasts are just listened to because we never show anything, but I'm showing you stuff on this episode. So pay attention and look when I'm showing you something.
yeah. Another thing that I do, I enjoy vintage models. Um,
Yeah, me too.
so this this is a Varney. I've modified it. It was a pickup truck. I shortened the cab, put a lifelike flatbed on it, painted it, but made some effort to improve the appearance of the front. And this one's not my modeling. Bought this on eBay. Sorry about the motion there. It's a Lee Stokes plaster casting, and
Wow.
he would provide it. It's a Chrysler Town and Country wood grain side. And so I bought it, and by itself, it looks really good. Put it next to one of my models, doesn't look so good. But the tan wood there is actually this yellow paint. And then there's some real nice detail in there in the grill painting. So somebody did a very nice job a long time ago. And then I also some of the train models. Let's see. So this one right here,
Mhm.
see printed cardboard with a wood core from the 40s.
Wow.
I just completed it. I did some things to improve its appearance, but nothing that a skilled modeler from that era couldn't have done. This is somebody's scratch built B&O wagon top boxcar that I picked up at a swap meet.
That's cool.
And this is a Varney one that I picked up as another cardboard, probably from the 40s, early 50s. Picked it up as a basket case, rebuilt it, liked it, discovered it. I was trying to level it on that wood block, discovered that they had built it twisted. So the ends were like this.
Oh, wow.
Pried the whole thing apart and
Fixed it.
and fixed it a second time. Yeah, that one has been
say-
photographed out on and posted online as background for the Ham's beer truck and then the Varney truck with the hayload. So
That's cool. So you say it's a cardboard? It's a cardboard. It's an actual cardboard car, train car,
yeah. So
like the box or the shell or whatever you want to call it.
yeah, the first one that I showed you It was done by Comet Models. They did a lot, mostly airplanes. So you see balsa and Bassett airplanes.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people built those. Some of them they could actually fly, and they were around from the 30s until they sold out in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember seeing them.
Yeah,
I
but
think I probably had a few as a kid.
they issued a few kits around 1940, and 35 cents was on the box. So
Wow.
of that one, and it's a wood pre-cut pieces that you put together, and you have a wood core, and then you laminate. It's just a cardstock that's printed and embossed a little bit to get a little texture. You glue that onto the sides.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen one of those. I mean, I'm not a huge train guy like that, so I've probably seen it and didn't even know it, but I never even heard of that. So that's really neat.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I took it with me on a trip to Florida, and then I just worked on it at night. So it was different.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're talking about trains. We want to talk about vehicles.
Well, so the podcast is mostly it's about the modeler and what they like to model. So it's a podcast that's supposed to be more about 187 scale cars, but not every modeler just dedicates himself to that one genre. They might do boats, they might do trains, they might do airplanes. I don't know. So it's more about to get to know you, the modeler, more. So whatever you like is basically what this whole thing is for. It's to get to know you and what you like to build and why you like to build it. So even if you built RC planes and you built them big enough to probably sit in and fly yourself in it's all modeling. It's all, it's about you, the modeler. So you can talk about whatever model you want to talk about. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned RC planes. I've never built a radio control plane.
Me neither.
And the reason is that I put literally hours into each model that I do.
And they're already small enough, so to try to build something bigger, spend the rest of your life.
It wasn't the size. It was, I would crash the thing.
Yeah, and they're much more expensive.
Yeah, and the idea of building quick is just not in my DNA. So, like you in the last couple of weeks, I think you posted photos of 6 or 8 lowriders.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I built all 6 of those in like 2 weeks.
In the time that you did that, I did the finishing parts of the Studebaker and the Snap-on tools. So they'd already been airbrushed red. So I'm just talking about painting the bumpers, putting in the glass, and mounting the wheels, which are all to do a neat job. At least for me, they're all very time consuming. But you did like 6 or 8 lowriders in the same, because you were posting it in the same time period I was finishing these guys.
Right. So check it out. There was not last year because of the pandemic, but the year before, 2019, I tallied up from January 1st to December 29th or December 31st or whatever the last day of the month is in that month. And I said, I got this many models done and I'm shooting to get, and I think it was like Christmas Day, and I said I need to get this many done and I'll have like 300 cars that I have built that one year. I don't think it was maybe it was 200, maybe it was even 100. Actually, I don't even think it was. I think it was 100. I think it was 100 cars I was shooting for, and I missed it by 1 car. And I finished it New Year's Day, but that's already out of the year that I wanted to get it finished by. So I think it was 100 cars, not 300. I don't know why I used that number, but I think it was 100 cars for that whole year, and all 187 scale cars, nothing any other sized.
Well, it's a good thing that you went to the small scale, because you score 100 125th scale.
Right. Well, on a good day, I can start a car when I wake up in the morning, like on my day off. And if nothing is happening that whole day, I can finish the whole car by the end of my day. But it has to be like a perfect scenario.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it'll take at least just 2 days from start to finish.
I usually work an hour or 2 at a time.
It's partly
I'm like I'm adjusting to that retired life.
Yeah.
People used to say that I don't know how I used to have time to work. And that's how
Right.
I feel now, because I have all kinds of real life projects,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
into gardening, home improvement, things like that.
Hmm.
Um, Also into endurance sports like cross country skiing, running, things that take a
That's
lot of
cool.
time.
Well, you live up in an area that has a lot of snow for at least half of the year, so I can understand the cross country skiing thing. I've never gone skiing ever,
Yeah.
so
No,
good
you're
for
what,
you.
North Carolina?
Yeah, we get it. So it's not like I don't have the opportunity. I just don't care to.
Yeah.
And I even lived in California where you could be at the snow in the morning and then at night go surfing, as the saying goes, because everything is so close.
Yeah.
But even then, I've never been surfing and I've never been skiing.
Mhm.
And I lived out there most of my life. So I just stay on the cement and the tar. I don't care. I'll walk around on my grass.
I
I'm good.
was at my local hobby store, and I know the owner, and it was like November or something. And there's some flakes falling. It was, oh great, hobby snow.
Right. That's so funny. So, uh, unlike California, where everything's always dry, out here we have the four seasons. And in spring, that's when all the trees grow their leaves back. And it was the weirdest thing. We have a tree that decided to shed its pollen like these white snowflakes. And it's like 75 to maybe 80 degrees outside, and it looks like it was snowing, but it
Yeah.
was falling much slower than snow because they were like, I don't know what you call it. It's just like floating pollen. I don't know. But they were big. And so I tell my daughter, she was like 7 years old at the time, I said, go outside, it's snowing. And she doesn't know if what the difference is. So we go out there and I said, you should try and catch some of that with your tongue.
Oh yeah.
So she does that. She goes, Dad, I don't think this is snow. I said, oh man, let's go inside then. But yeah, it was, one of those fatherly things that you can trick on your kids because you know the
Yeah.
truth, but they don't.
Yeah. My daughter always thought I tell the truth, and then I would. She went away to college, right? And um, about about 2 weeks into it, my wife and I were at some place, and somebody had a converted school bus to a camper,
Oh, cool.
and the thing was painted white, and up on the header in front, it says school bus. It said white trash.
Oh, nice.
And I took a picture of it and texted it there and told her that we were starting a new life since now that we're empty nesters. She believed me.
Nice. We're gonna travel the country in this
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's cool that those people that did that had a sense of humor to put that on there, though. That's neat. So I'm actually on the 187 Skill website, and I'm looking at your gallery. Not a lot, but some of your pictures you have shown with your cars with the trolley going down the middle of the street and the big four-pillared building looks like a courthouse or something.
Yeah, I can
Is
tell you
that your
about
friend's layout?
Yeah, that's Arlen Titel's layout.
Okay.
So that's a representation of the depot that was in Minneapolis, Union
Oh, wow.
Depot. It's actually a Walther's kit. He's changed it a little bit, but it looks a lot like that depot. And
This is it for everybody that's
yeah,
wanting to see it.
the trolley car is a Bowser model. That's the Twin Cities trolley. Let's see. So all the vehicles, automobiles are mine. The pickup with the headlights on is his. There's
Okay.
also versions of that photo that were taken later that have a city bus that I painted in the Twin City bus lines.
Yeah, I think that's on here probably somewhere as
Red and
well.
cream and blue.
Probably. Maybe.
Go
Maybe not.
go to later ones. It's fairly recent model. Should be on there.
Well, this is all that the 187
Oh,
scale
shoot. unless
photos of.
unless it got when. No, I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
thought it was. Sorry, I thought it was
Yeah.
posted on there. There's some places either on the Facebook group or on the gallery I've posted. There's a he has a sign for a beer that's lit up behind it, and
Oh,
that's
that's cool.
prototypical to the location.
That's cool. I mean,
Yeah,
the picture in this angle with this background with those vehicles and the actual working lights for the telephone pole or the light poles. I mean, the picture looks great. And then you got the trolley going down, so it looks like an actual still photo of a scene that was actually happening.
yeah, and that's just a little corner when you walk into his room. It's the whole thing is about 1 foot by 2 foot.
Oh wow.
And it's not a part of the operating railroad. That track does not operate, but underneath the station is where the passenger cars come in, and then that connects to the rest of his railroad, which fills about a 20 by 20 room. Takes 12 guys to operate.
Jeez, I'm good. I don't need nothing that advanced.
So we would pre-COVID, we would get together one Friday a month and do that.
Wow. Well, for everybody listening, I'm going to link this this photo gallery, his photo gallery of everything he's ever got published on the photo gallery section of the website, so you can see all the models that he's also built that, you know, we may not be talking about or whatever, so you guys get a better picture of who David is and what he likes to build.
Yeah, the interaction with other modelers has really helped me as a modeler. You know, I've got some models that I built back in the 80s before there was any internet that I'm still proud of, and I haven't gone back and rebuilt them. But you know, just learning about tape, clear tape for glass.
Right.
You know, heard about the monochrome pen. Just let's see.
I don't know where you heard that
from. I mean, people like Joe Fay and John Tyson, Mike Booty, others who do the casting.
Right.
Jerry Cox. You know, all people met through the internet. Sylvan Lestum was a lot of inspiration to me early on in the internet days, and, you know, painting chrome and just seeing being inspired to what could be done. So it's been, you know, the Snap-on tools, decals, they, since we're talking about the 187th gallery. So this model that's on the gallery, I posted the model, and the cab at that time was just a plain red one. And then Fred Grun, he's since sadly passed away, but he saw that and he said, "Oh, I have some extra decals for that cab for Chicago Express." So he sent me the decals there. And so then I used the decals and did some other things just to upgrade the model, the cab.
This is what he was showing. This is the better picture. So basically, the reason why I talk over you, I'm sorry for that, is the way this Zoom is set up. I have it to where when you talk, the camera goes big on you.
Okay.
It then doesn't show me. That's so if you were showing something like you were, they see it better than if there's two cameras on the same screen. And then your camera's like only an inch big and my camera is an inch big and nobody can see anything we're talking about.
Right.
So that's why I'm sorry for talking over, but that's why I say this is what he's showing you, because this might be a little bit bigger. I don't know.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Okay, so then I've got another one that was influenced by that site. This is a International Harvester mail truck, and you can see that the cab is windshield area is a lot different than the CMW. And so there was another modeler whose name I can't remember right now, but it's probably in the text describing this model, that he did a fire truck with this cab, and he just filed down the front and made a new windshield.
Greg Dixon, maybe? Greg Dixon uses these cabs a lot and creates his own versions of trucks.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was
Maybe.
him, but um, yeah, someone else on the site did that. So it's like, yeah,
That's cool. Or maybe Chester
no,
Flip.
it wasn't
No.
Chester. It might be in
Oh.
the text. Roger Dowden. It's in the text there.
Oh, my bad. You meant the literature on this. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to read this, but if you can read it, I don't know, maybe pause the video and go ahead and read this. But yeah, anyways, this whole gallery is going to be linked in the description. So if you guys really want to read it, you can click on the link and see all the stuff.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun with the internet because you can I can share photos of my models. Otherwise, I build it and um, no one
Right.
really to show it to other than my model railroad friends.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think Facebook and internet forums really helped this world, because I mean, look, we got friends in Europe, friends in Germany, friends all over the world that are in the same exact hobby we're in, building their own version of what we're building out here, and we can all communicate and talk like daily if we wanted. And back in, say, 20 years ago, right when the internet was just getting big enough for internet forums to start, before that we weren't talking to each other at all. We didn't even know each other existed.
Right, and we didn't have the resource. I do a lot of searching for prototype um, because I'm doing things that are supposed to look like a real vehicle as it existed
Right.
um, decades ago. I do a lot of research to try and find that, either vintage photos or try to weed through all the street rods to find the ones that are
Yeah.
original. And when I first started modeling, it was like I would go with my memory. It was 1985, so it wasn't too long to remember what colors were really popular in the 50s. Now,
Yeah.
now that it's more of a stretch. Or
Right.
I'd see a shot like a calendar or a picture with streetcar in it, and look at the vehicles and go, oh yeah, there's a lot of kind of gray and green, and okay, those were popular colors during the early 50s, so I'll paint some of my models that color. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
most of them turned out to not match that particular make and model, but they're typical of the era.
Right. Well, I mean, you can get away with close enough. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be exact. I mean, it's just the model to begin. It's not real life. But, as long as you see the car, you see how it's painted, you see how it looks, and you recognize it from, your childhood or from TV movies or whatever. You're like, that does look like it. Even if you're not fine comb or, looking at it over with a fine tooth comb. I can't even talk. You can recognize what that is and be like, he captured the look.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to look like it looks like something recognizable,
Yeah. And to me, some of that is the color,
Yeah.
particularly when the colors became more vivid.
Right.
And so I mix my own paints. And I started to say before, I'm a little bit stuck in the 50s because I can mix the paints and brush paint them. For the 1960s, lots of metallic. I can't brush paint that, so I have to get the airbrush out, which
Yeah.
means hauling it up to the garage. But that's the direction I'll have to be taking now, because with all these recent purchases from Peter Rings and John Tyson,
Right. Right.
that's what I've got to do.
Well, hey, I mean, if that's the look you're going for, and that's the time period you're in, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I take all those same cars and I give it a modern day, hot rod custom lowrider look. So I don't need that period correct look ever. I just need the body to look like a normal body that I can then do the weirdest, craziest paint job over or whatever. So I get it. And I love, I love that stock look in that time period, 55 through 65. A stock GM vehicle is the perfect vehicle. from Buick, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Chevy, whatever. It's Cadillac. It's the perfect look, hands down. That's a stock version is. And I mean, I like lowriders and customs. I could make a stock one look like that, but start off with a stock car, you're already working with perfection. In my opinion, I mean, I'm a GM guy. You seem to be a GM guy. Mike Budd's a GM guy. Yeah. Those are the best guys.
I'm a GM guy, but as I was saying before, somehow in my modeling, I've neglected the GMs.
Well, I mean, I like the Mopars too, like the mid 50s to late 50s Mopars to super early 60s. I mean, they came out with the even wilder than GM. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are the weirdest bodied styled cars in all of car history. They figured GM and Ford had their thing, and we gotta make our own thing look like we were taking drugs when we weren't.
Yeah, so like in the 187th scale, those would be those was it Revell did those 1961 Dodges and
yeah. And I mean, you look at all those cars and you think if hindsight if you would have had that back then, you would have done whatever you could to probably purchase old cars from that time period in like the 70s or the early 80s when nobody wanted them and they were just junk, and you could just stockpile them in a lot somewhere, and then you'd be richer than anything right now. Yeah. But yeah, that's the problem, is hindsight. But anyways, you got anything that you like to share that your upcoming projects, or you want to keep those a secret until you post them?
Well, I don't know. I was thinking about that as a question you might ask, and I don't know what I'm going to do next.
Well, I never really know what I'm going to do next until I do it. But you just said you have a few purchases. I didn't know if you wanted to share any of those, or just we get to wait to pitch.
A 56 Chev is one of my favorite all-time vehicles. So it might be that. I might finish off.
Did you get that from Sylvan? Or are you going to get that from Sylvan?
I have it.
That's cool. Right on.
I might. The blue chopped Barris inspired Buick that I showed, that one is nearly completed. That could be that.
That's cool. That's cool. Do you have any I guess far out time frame of when you think you're going to build your train set, or is that not even in the future yet?
I've got to clear out the basement.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, you can slowly start on the train set, I guess.
I have not even drawn plans because I used to think about it a lot. Kids came along. Wife said, "Oh, this nice carpeted lit room is perfect for playroom." And
oh wow! So that dashed your dreams of that, and then,
right? And I have not thought about what kind of track plan I would want. I haven't thought about it for years. I don't want something super complicated though.
That makes sense. I'm not a huge train guy. I like trains, but I don't plan on ever having a train layout. But I think if I did, the 187 scale club group, the Route 187 scale, they designed a module layout to where the road sits so far off the front. So I figured if I were to have any sort of railroad, any way, anyhow, I'd probably put it in the back of the module. It would be the background, why the building and the cars were the forefront. Why on a train layout, the train's the forefront and the vehicles and the town and everything else is the background. So I would do it opposite, just because I'm not that huge into trains. But I think that's what I'd probably do. I'd probably just build separate modules that all connect, and then have that train in the background.
Or the projects I could do. I bought the Sylvan ore boat.
Oh, nice.
Lake Superior ore ship. They call them boats for some reason. Right. And so, right. So I haven't started it yet, but that was kind of inspired after my dad passed away. My dad had been in the Navy back in the 50s and grew up in Duluth, Minnesota. And so I went up there to see my grandparents a lot. Grew up seeing these ships or these boats. And so
That's cool.
probably will not be on my model railroad, probably not enough. It would fit the theme, but probably not have the space needed. But just a
Right. Makes
standalone
sense.
model on a diorama,
Yeah.
that's a project that's coming too.
That's cool. I'll look forward to seeing that because I mean I'm not really a boat guy, but anything that you don't normally see that somebody that you admire already building, I'd be very interested to see how that turns out. Because for one, it won't be a car, so it'll be completely different. Yet it's still a model. So I'd like to see how that turns out whenever you end up, finishing that. I guess the last question. You said you're in Wisconsin, right?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
How far is that away from St. Louis?
Yeah, St. Louis. 6 to 8 hour drive.
That's not bad. I mean, it's a horrible drive if you're going to do it in one day. So you want to spend the night. You should look into, if you have the time and the money, going to the RPM meet in St. Louis. That's where our group, our 187 scale group, has been able to go to the last 3 years, except for last year for the pandemic. And Mike Buddy's out there, and a whole bunch of people go out there from our little train group. And it's a 2-day event to show off your models.
Yeah,
if you choose to do that.
I would think about one that were located in St. Louis or Chicago area.
Yeah.
Those are
St. Louis is a good show. And then at the same time, Ken Patterson has the What's Neat in Model Railroading show that he does on YouTube, and he's right there with Mike Buddy, and it's all right there. It's really
Ken was the one that somehow he talked about. It was probably something in Model Railroader. We talked about using tape, and so that's when I started using tape.
Yeah, well, I think Mike Buddy had a little tiny thing on his show talking about how you can do that, and I mean, he told me about that. He seems, I don't know where he figured it out, but he's our pioneer for this scale for tape windows.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I hope that maybe some year you'll be able to make it out to St. Louis for that, and show off your models. I won't be there this year, but next year I plan on being there, and hopefully every year after that. But yeah, it'd be nice to meet you in person and show off our models together. And
yeah, that would be a lot of fun. A St. Louis convention would be something I would really think about going to. So
yeah, I mean, I'm 12 hours away and I still drive out there, so you could do it if you're only 8.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, let me end this podcast, and then we can say our goodbyes once this recording's over. So everybody, I hope you like this interview. I hope with the change of my new style of showing pictures during the interview, it's not a professional job, it's a hack job, but hey, it's the best I can do for now. And I really wanted to show his models because he has some great looking cars and vehicles that I truly like. So hope you like this episode. If you do, like and subscribe, and comment if you have any questions, or if you just say, hey, good episode. That's always good to know too. And all the links, I'll put this, the gallery, the 187 scale gallery of his whole gallery of vehicles that he has published in the link description. And then I'll put his, if you guys want to get a hold of him, if you want to talk to him, if you want to message him, his Facebook page is where you would message him off of. So I can send that in the description. And yeah, just look out for those in the description. And I hope you guys like this episode. So until the next one, we'll see you guys later. All right, everybody. That was David Johnson. I hope you guys liked this video, or this episode of the video. I showed pictures of his cars off of my computer, so I don't know how the camera viewed the video off of. I don't know how my camera on my phone viewed photos off of a website on the laptop. I know normally you get these like super groovy lines in photos a lot, but this was video, so I don't know if the video picks up the same thing as a still photo. I don't know, but I guess once I upload this, I'll have to re-see and rewatch it and check it out. But anyways, regardless, I hope you guys like it. David's a cool guy. He has some really nice models. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And like always, in the description, the last link in the description, we'll have that Patreon if any of you guys want to check it out. But oh, good news too. If any of you are still watching, see this thing? Check out what's inside. Those are earpods. Yeah, so I don't have to have this in my ear. So this will be on the next episode. Guess how I got those? Patreon supporter. Boom. Yeah, so we're one step ahead of where we were since this podcast started. So good for this. Yeah, and just remember, episodes down here and the main page down here. See you guys on the next episode.